Good evening and thank you for joining us. Los Angeles police swiftly enforced a downtown curfew on Tuesday night, making arrests as they try to quell protests against President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Trump has activated more than 4,000 National Guard members and 700 Marines over the objections of city and state leaders. California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom earlier accused Trump of drawing a military dragnet across the nation's second-largest city, saying democracy is under assault. Nasri Karim with more.
Personnel from the National Guard being served food and water as they protect the Civic Center in Santa Ana near Los Angeles. Reports say troops were seen accompanying agents of ICE or Immigration and Customs Enforcement in arresting suspected illegal immigrants, which many in the US say is not their role. More National Guard and Marines making their way to Los Angeles in case they are needed to help keep the peace. This as protests in Los Angeles continued for a fifth day, while spreading to other cities such as New York, Atlanta and Chicago. Many of the protesters ignoring an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in key downtown areas imposed by Mayor Karen Bass, who says it is to clamp down on looting by a small group of opportunists. California Governor Gavin Newsom said he has filed a lawsuit against Trump and the State Department trying to block deployment of troops in LA. A judge had yet to rule on the suit.
Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
Trump arrived at Joint Base Andrews after addressing troops at Fort Bragg, where he denounced the LA protesters.
There's something wrong with these people. All I want in terms of engagement, I just want to see peace. If there's peace, we get out. If there's even a chance of no peace, we stay there until there's peace. And a lot of people are being arrested. The rioters, or whatever you want to call them, they better know a lot of people are being arrested. They're going to be in jail for a long time.
In Chicago, a small crowd gathered outside an immigration court downtown and called for an end to immigration sweeps and military presence on the streets of California. The group then marched through the downtown area, drumming and chanting "No more deportations." With more people coming out onto the streets in other U.S. cities, Trump's attempts to contain the protests is, for now, having the opposite effect. Nasri Karim, TVB News.
Some Hong Kongers residing in Los Angeles spoke to TVB News amid anti-ICE protests and curfew in the downtown areas. Mimosang reports.
The looting of shops continued in parts of downtown Los Angeles on the first night of the curfew. A Hong Konger from the Orange County, which is about 40 minutes away from the downtown area, said she was not concerned about her safety.
If it is only happen in downtown LA, I wouldn't scared of anything because it's quite far away. And I'm living in Orange County. It's quite peaceful and as normal life as, usual. So I won't be scared.
Yi said her workplace has instructed employees what to do in case of an emergency.
I'm working in a shopping mall, and if it is something happen, she told us if something happened, we should go somewhere that we can have a closed door. We can lock, maybe call 911.
A food factory owner whose business is close to the downtown area said they believe the police force is able to handle the protests. The owner supports the Trump administration's policy of removing illegal immigrants from the country. He said if the group is permitted to stay, the government will need to provide them with benefits, meaning an increase in expenditure. Mimosang, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump addressed troops at Fort Bragg in North Carolina ahead of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. It comes days before his military parade in the Capitol on June 14th, also his birthday, with some groups planning anti-Trump protests on the same day. a demonstration assault using helicopters and troops as Trump watched from a distance. Dozens of C-17 and C-130 aircraft dropped 600 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division onto the demo field. Speaking to the troops, he denounced the protesters in Los Angeles. He had already promised a very big force to counter any protests during Saturday's military parade in Washington, D.C., which falls on his 79th birthday. Reports say dozens of groups are uniting to organize No Kings protests in what is expected to be the largest anti-Trump demonstration of his second term.
That's a beautiful sight.
Back locally, the standby signal number 1 is expected to remain in force tonight through tomorrow morning. While temperatures have eased slightly from yesterday's scorching highs, the mercury across most districts still reach around 31 to 32 degrees. With Wu-tip marking this year's first tropical cyclone to form over the northwestern Pacific and South China Sea, the Hong Kong Observatory also issued the city's very first standby signal number 1 in the early morning. According to the forecast track, Wu-tip is expected to edge towards Hainan Island and strengthen gradually before inching closer to the Leizhou Peninsula in the southernmost part of Guangdong Province and Beibu Gulf. Unless Wu-tip intensifies rapidly, the standby signal number 1 is expected to stay until Thursday morning. HAO scientific officers said while wind strength may slightly ease early Friday, Hong Kong will begin to experience a southerly airstream with squally showers and strong winds. The observatory will monitor the strength of Wu-tip, its distance, and local wind conditions to determine whether the strong wind signal number 3 is necessary on Friday. Spokesperson of the Hong Kong Meteorological Society, Lo Wing-mo, said variables remain when it comes to the quote-unquote butterfly effect. Leung said Wu-tip's formation depends on whether the seawater is warm enough, but when the system passes by Hainan Island, the mountain ranges might weaken its structure and its strength. Macau, meanwhile, is currently under typhoon signal number 1, which is expected to remain in effect throughout the day. With 6 giant pandas now residing at Ocean Park, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law revealed in a written statement that the park's visitor numbers jumped 19% year-on-year. This after giant pandas Anan and Keke made their debut in December at the Hong Kong Jockey Club Sichuan Treasures, and after twin cubs Jia and Dede greeted the public in February at the Giant Panda Adventure Pavilion. Apart from incorporating panda themes at the National Games, tourism sector lawmaker Perry Yu hopes the government will maintain the city's momentum and take Hong Kong's panda brand overseas. The Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau says new campaigns have been planned for Father's Day, Anan and Keke's birthday, and the Panda Twins' upcoming first birthday. The Bureau added the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charities Trust will allocate over $120 million to upgrade the 2 panda pavilions at Ocean Park. Starting today, Hong Kong permanent residents can go through Macau's immigration clearance using iris scanning checkpoint channels. As of 6 p.m., more than 1,200 residents had registered for iris biometrics. To take advantage of the iris scanning checkpoint channels, individuals must use a phone to scan a QR code. They then need to stare at the camera while maintaining a distance of 50 centimeters. After passing the iris recognition, users can pass through the gate. The whole process takes less than 30 seconds. Hong Kong permanent residents age 11 or above who have registered for automated passenger clearance in Macau can use the new service. After a second day of China-U.S. trade talks, a Chinese representative says both sides have reached a framework agreement, now awaiting approval from top leaders of the 2 countries. The Chinese delegate expressed the hope that the progress made in London will be conducive to more mutual trust and stable and sound development of China-U.S. trade and economic ties. Meanwhile, U.S. officials expect Chinese restrictions on rare earth exports will be resolved as a fundamental part of the framework agreement. Danny Zhou has details.
At about midnight UK time, top officials from Beijing and Washington wrapped up more than 20 hours of rational, in-depth and candid talks over 2 days at the historic Lancaster House in London. China's international trade representative Li Chenggang and Commerce Minister Wang Wentao were part of the Chinese delegation led by Vice Premier He Lifeng. Following the meetings, Li told reporters that both sides have agreed on a trade framework in principle for implementing the consensus reached during the June 5th phone conversation between the 2 countries' presidents, as well as an early agreement sealed in meetings in Geneva last month. He added the delegates will now report the framework agreement to their respective top leaders for approval. In a separate briefing, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick stated the two sides have reached a handshake for a framework, affirming officials will be present in London on Wednesday if need be.
So I think both sides had extra impetus in order to get things done because we both have our presidents behind us, pushing us to make sure we take care of our respective sides.
Lutnick contended the framework deal puts meat on the bones of the consensus resulting from the Geneva meetings. This, as he expects the topic of rare earth minerals and magnets with respect to the U.S. will be resolved in this framework implementation. As their second round of trade talks stretched on, the U.S. reportedly signaled willingness to remove restrictions on some tech exports in exchange for assurances that China will ease its limits on rare earth shipments. Lutnick hinted the agreement reached in London is expected to remove Beijing's export curbs on those materials and a number of Washington's restriction measures in a balanced way. Global supply chains were rattled as China introduced new export restrictions on a group of heavy rare earths and rare earth magnets in early April, in the wake of 145% tariffs slapped on China by the Trump administration. The two countries reached out a 90-day deal on May the 12th to roll back the triple-digit tariffs that they imposed on each other. The halt is due to expire in early August. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Iran's foreign ministry said the next round of indirect talks with the U.S. on Tehran's nuclear program was being planned for Sunday in Muscat, Oman. This after Iran said it would soon put forward a counterproposal to a U.S. deal it deems unacceptable. Iran and the U.S. have gone through 5 rounds of negotiations over a possible deal, with talks mediated by the Sultanate of Oman. Without a deal with the U.S., the threat remains of possible Israeli or the U.S. airstrikes targeting Iranian nuclear facilities. Experts fear Tehran, in response, could decide to end its cooperation with the United Nations Nuclear Agency and rush towards a bomb. U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that a strike is off the cards because he is confident of a deal. Trump said the main sticking point is Iran's wish to continue enriching uranium on Iranian soil. Welcome back. Austrian authorities are searching for answers as to why a 21-year-old gunman shot dead 10 people and wounded 12 others in a rampage at his former high school before killing himself. It is one of the worst outbreaks of violence in the country's modern history. Tracy Furness has more.
Emergency services rushing to the scene after receiving a call at around 10:30 a.m. that shots had been fired at a high school in Graz, Austria's second largest city. Some 300 police were sent to the school. Special forces too carrying rifles, as medical crews were already taking victims out on stretchers, rushing them to nearby hospitals. At least 10 people were killed at the Burg Dreieschützengasse High School, located about a kilometre from Graz Historical Centre. This witness said, "I heard police sirens, unnaturally many and loud. When I got to my balcony, I saw special police forces with rifles who ran around the buildings and in the street here." Austrian police said victims were found both outside and inside the school on various floors. At a briefing, police confirmed that there had been several deaths, with other students who were in the building having been evacuated and sent to talk with crisis intervention teams. Media reports say the 21-year-old gunman, who had not been identified, apparently felt bullied, though police have yet to confirm this. Austrian authorities say the suspect never completed his studies at the school. Police say the gunman left a farewell note that did not reveal a motive for the attack, adding that a pipe bomb was found at his home but not yet functional. Meanwhile, police gathered for a candlelit vigil in Graz's main square to mourn those who died in the shooting. And several hundred people attended a mass at the cathedral. Attending too, Austrian Chancellor Christian Stocker alongside the country's Vice-Chancellor and Foreign Minister. Austria declared 3 days of national mourning, with the shooting prompting a rare show of solidarity among the bitterly divided political parties. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
This month, Hong Kong's two leading medical faculties, the University of Hong Kong and the Chinese University of Hong Kong, are making their debut at Bio 2025 in Boston, the world's largest biotechnology conference. Their participation will showcase on the global stage Hong Kong's growing strength in biotechnology research. Miriam Lynch reports.
For the first time, representatives of the medical faculties of HKU and CUHK will join the Hong Kong delegation to Bio 2025.
To bring our technology to the world, to understand how we can play bigger. Systems in the US and other parts of the world are different, and we need to adapt to it, and we need to learn how to bring our technology and make them be successful.
The CEO of the Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation attributed the delegation's preparation and anticipated success at the conference to the existence of the two university medical faculties in training local talent and conducting biomedical research. The dean of the HKU, Li Ka-shing Faculty of Medicine, emphasized that the local ecosystem promotes technology development and transfer. He pointed to the Hong Kong government's establishment of the Inno Hong Kong Centers, 5 of which are associated with HKU, as encouraging academics to transfer breakthroughs from labs into impactful medical products. The two medical faculties have also focused their efforts on talent development, both locally and abroad, encouraging students to pursue careers in medical research. The dean of the CUHK Faculty of Medicine stressed that the city's position within the Greater Bay Area allows it to take on global challenges and conduct multi-center, high-level clinical trials, which will be translated to impactful applications, a unique attraction to international talent. The delegation aims to showcase such strengths at the Bio International Convention in the hope of further expanding the local biotech industry. Miriam Lynch, TVB News.
The ministerial meeting on follow-up actions of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation was held in Hunan Province's Changsha. President Xi Jinping mentioned in a congratulatory letter that China is ready to implement the zero-tariff treatment for 53 African countries having diplomatic relations with China. Sekar Ip reports from Changsha.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and representatives from 53 African countries and the African Union Commission gathered in Changsha, capital of Hunan Province, for the ministerial meeting 9 months after the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing last year. Wang Yi read out President Xi Jinping's congratulatory letter highlighting the fruitful outcomes from last year's forum. She said China is committed to providing new opportunities for the world with the new achievements of Chinese modernization and offering new impetus to the Global South partners, including Africa, with China's huge market. He also mentioned that China is ready to negotiate and sign the agreement of China-Africa Economic Partnership for Shared Development to implement the zero-tariff treatment for 100% tariff lines for 53 African countries having diplomatic relations with China and provide more convenience for the least developed countries in Africa to export to China. Wang Yi emphasized in his speech that the cooperation between China and Africa enhances the development and revitalization of the Global South, as well as greater justice on the international stage amid the global turmoil and uncertainties. As co-chair of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, the Republic of Congo's president also sent a congratulatory letter. The China-Africa Changsha Declaration on upholding solidarity and cooperation of the Global South is also announced after the meeting. The 4th China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo will open on Thursday, featuring over 20 events that will focus on key areas of cooperation, including infrastructure and textiles. Sakarib, TVB News, Hunan.
China's Shanxi province has been focusing on promoting cultural tourism through traditional crafts in recent years. The province now has 27 sites open for what it is called industrial tourism. A Hong Kong lawmaker says the city can take reference from Shanxi's efforts in planning our own industrial tourism hotspots. Mimosang reports.
At this Shanxi factory, a master craftsman is busy making glass containers. Glass blowing is an essential process in the production of glassware. More than 1,300 items are displayed at this exhibition center, Red Sea Glass Culture and Art Park in Xixian, Shanxi. In the past few years, Xixian has exported glass containers to more than 80 countries and territories, including around 40 along the Belt and Road Initiative route. Such exports have been growing by around 20% annually. As a means to attract tourists, this art park will join Chao's Grand Courtyard and the ancient city of Pingyao as tourism hotspots in the central part of Shanxi. Shanxi is also known for its vinegar making. Here at the Laoxi Vinegar Expo, visitors can watch the production process for mature vinegar. While the venue showcases mainly regular vinegar, the producer has also launched some new items, including vinegar-based sparkling water. The Hong Kong government earlier released its development blueprint for Hong Kong's tourism industry 2.0. The sector is forming groups to develop made-in Hong Kong industrial tourism, creating hotspots for visitors to tour, experience and shop. Tourism sector lawmaker Yu Pat Learn said the city can take reference from Shanxi's industrial tourism projects in coming up with our own development plan. Memos 9, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.